This boulder has been reported on and known for over 100 years. It had a level of reverence with the Native American communities. They have identified it as a cultural feature. It's the most famous boulder with pictographs that we have probably in the county, as it's appeared in various anthropology publications probably for the last 80, 90 years. Originally it was called Girl's Puberty Rock, which is somewhat of a misnomer because we found that a lot of these handprints belong to someone greater than the stature of a young girl, so we believe it was done by adults as well. Dan McCarthy, an archaeologist in Riverside County, did a study on this several years ago and found that there's actually two main styles of paintings on the boulder. An earlier Rancho Bernardo style, which is more linear, it has greater antiquity, we believe, than this more recent layer called San Luis Rey. So this boulder has been important to peoples for a long time, and there's been several episodes of painting. What people probably gravitate to first are these handprints, and they are interesting. Some of these handprints are much smaller than my hand. I don't want to touch the boulder, but you can just see by a simple comparison these are more diminutive, and they measure out to a female or male adolescent on the front end of their adolescence between 9 and 11 years of age. Handprints over here are much bigger, and these handprints kind of corroborate with somebody that might be greater than 16 years of age. So there's definitely a spread there, probably an adult population versus a young or neo-adolescent population. Some of these handprints are interesting because let's see, this handprint right here shows splatter coming off the fingers, so you know there was a percussive moment in the application. It wasn't just set on the boulder, but there was some sort of reaffirming or very assured impact when the paint was applied, because you see the ejection splatters. So there's little interesting nuances like that. One of the most interesting features, and I'm looking for it right now. Here we go. This particular handprint's rather faint, but if you look carefully with macro photography, you can actually pick off a fingerprint. The dermal ridges actually show on some of these handprints, much like they show in some of the pottery that was done in the Southwest, where the maker's finger impressions can be seen quite clearly in their dermal ridges. The imagery on this rock art panel has some level of uniqueness, and then it has some corresponding imagery that we see around in the county. What's unusual about this is for example, a little anthropomorph that we have here that's digitated, kind of a rare feature in the county. Some zoomorphic, frog-like, if you will, or some sort of creature drawn here. And there's other hybrids of things that have kind of zoomorphic form but are otherworldly. For example, it looks like it has a tail, but it doesn't really have a head. So there's these transmorphed figures that exist on the panel, which to some people suggest maybe they're from a trance state image, some visionary type of experience, perhaps by a shaman. There's also black on this panel, which is very, very difficult to see because of these coatings of granitic stain that we have. But the black imagery is located, there's a little diamond here and so forth, and under certain lighting conditions, these subtle features are better revealed. But overall, this is a wonderful panel, and one of the reasons why it exists as it does today is because of this stain. If you notice, almost the entire surface of this panel is coated in this orange granitic stain. And that helps the indelible nature of the paint, either by facilitating its binding or literally a coating, kind of like a shellac, that helps the indelible nature. If you look just over to the left a little bit, you'll see a streak, which is more common of the granitic stain, and then you'll see the lighter colored granitic stone there. And that lighter colored stone doesn't seem to hold on to the pigment as well as where the granitic stains exist. And this whole boulder just has that luxury, and it's maybe one of the primary reasons why it was chosen, because of its ability to adhere the pigments. Right here where I'm pointing, I'm going to make sure I don't touch it, of course, but you'll see an old spall that was painted right over. And so right here you see the pigment line go right over the old spall. If you have really good information about the geology and a lot of the surface effects of the rocks, and you see paint over spalls, it allows us to put in some temporal sequence maybe when these events occurred, because you can look at the remineralization, or some people say the repatination of spalls, and then get a sense of temporal sequencing. But that's pretty broad, pretty general, but it is an interesting feature. An effort was done to date this. Speculation can range between 200 years old down to 500, 600, 700 years in time depth, but there seems to be certainly several episodes, so it would not be too out of line to speculate that this might have maybe 2, 3, 4 generations or more of application.